Welcome in. You are listening to a daily editorial here on the KE Report. Happy to report that I have our good friend Jayant Bhandari on the line with me. I chat with Jayant on a fairly regular basis about usually companies and about the different countries that he is traveling to, getting a feeling for what's actually going on in the economy with more of a boots-on-the-ground approach. And Jayant, that's what we're going to talk about here, starting off with Japan. You just spent 2 weeks in Japan visiting a company up there. Give us, I guess, a little rundown of what you saw firsthand in Japan, and then maybe we'll get a little bit into the company that you were visiting with.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Cory. This was another visit of mine in Japan. I have been following Japan very closely for the last 6-7 years. I communicate with a lot of Japanese, and really Japan is a country I'm truly in love with. A lot of data, statistics, and numbers that you see in the international media about Japan, in my opinion, is erroneous. Japan is an extraordinarily good country. It's a very peaceful country. They do have some problems, and the problems mostly are related with people not dying in their old age. Now, that's in a way a very good problem. It's a problem of success rather than a problem of failure. It's a country that continues to do very well economically. So I'm very excited about Japan. And I spent 2 weeks in Japan, extremely polite people, a country which has almost zero crime rate. There's a rare country in the world today which has close to zero crime rate.
Hey, when I was in Japan at the very beginning of this year, actually, my wife and I went over there for a couple weeks, and I was shocked. First of all, at how clean, how polite everybody was, but also how big it is in terms of population. It was not even an hour train ride from a city that was bigger than New York to a city that was the same size as New York, population-wise. But really, when you look at it on a map, man, they sure cram a lot of people into a small area over there. But they are very, very advanced. And maybe you can speak to this, Jayant, that when I walked around, you really understand that they are very much a developed economy.
It's one of the most developed countries in the world, particularly if you consider the fact that a lot of people in Japan don't work. There is a huge population of elderly people who are retired, who of course don't work, and work participation of women is only 63% in Japan. Despite that so many people don't work in Japan, the reality is that on per capita basis, Japanese economy is almost similar to that of British and Finnish economy on per capita basis, which actually means that the quality of life is much higher in Japan compared to that of the UK and Finland. Add to that all the politeness, the cleanliness, and almost virtual, complete freedom from crime in that country.
Hey, I recommend people go visit Japan just because it is really a cultural experience, and you really get a feeling for really how nice these people are and how accommodating they are, and again, as what you're saying, how safe it is. But again, you were there visiting a company, Irvin Resources. Can you take us through maybe what caught your eye? I know you followed this company before, but maybe a general update for our audience, please.
Japan was mostly closed for mining and exploration for the last I think since the end of the Second World War. Yen was very expensive, and property in Japan was extremely expensive for most of these years. In the last few years, Japan has increasingly opened up itself for exploration, which means that a couple of companies have started to explore for gold, high-grade gold in Japan. It has to be high-grade gold because Japan is unlikely to let you do open-pit, low-grade mining. So now I was with Irving Resources looking at a couple of their projects. The geologists I was with, they are extremely excited about the company, and there are some visible veins in one of the projects of the company, which makes which has extremely good grade. Some of the samples they have found are in multiple of 100 grams per ton kind of grades. It's a very interesting project for me. My clients and I are, of course, invested in this company, and I wanted to have a look at their projects.
So, Jayant, again, as you said, the country was closed for exploration and mining for quite some time, and the Japanese are very, well, internally focused. They do like to protect what they have because they are, well, very much an isolated nation. Do you have any worries that their current mentality could switch back to what it used to be, and there again could be some restrictions put on mining and exploration?
I don't think so. I think Japanese have a culture of honoring their contracts. Once they have decided on something, they honor their words. But at the same time, Cory, everyone associated with, or virtually everyone associated with Irving is a Japanese. Akiko Levinson, who is the CEO of the company, is a Japanese. She actually spends now a lot of her time in Japan. The geologists of Irving Resources are Japanese. There's only one Canadian, I think, in the whole team, who is Dr. Quinton Henney.
Okay, so again, this is an interesting company, and I know everybody just heard Quinton Henney's name, and well, that's a person who I also have an interview that was just posted before Giants, and that deals more with Novo, but again, the team up at Irving is a very interesting team. Now, Jayant, let's switch focus, talk about China. I just had a discussion with Chris Temple regarding China, but some of the numbers that we've seen out of China have been better. Yes, they're still creating huge amounts of credit, a lot of liquidity still in their system, but any growth in China does support the metals complex in a broad sense, especially the base metals. What are your comments here?
I have been extremely optimistic about China, and I go to China once or twice a year, Cory, and every time I go to China, it is a better country. They actually keep improving. The quality of their people is improving. The quality of what they do keeps improving. Hygiene keeps improving. Roads get better. The infrastructure gets better. And pollution level keeps going down in China. People maybe don't like to talk much about it, but the reality is that everything in China keeps improving on a day-to-day basis. Now, economy is actually continuing to increase. And one very interesting thing is that corruption has significantly fallen in China. And you can actually measure it because everything in Macau continues to suffer. Macau was doing so well because it was a place where illegally earned money could be laundered into legal money. But Macau gambling has slowed down significantly, which means that corruption has actually fallen in China. Now, add to that the One Road, One Belt project of China, which makes a lot of these countries around China very exciting. China is actually able to implement projects. As you can see, they have built projects in Africa, in Central America, and I think there's a huge amount of confidence in China's ability to deliver on those projects. And China has the manpower and competencies to make sure that those projects happen. The result is what you see in base metals. Base metals have done very well. And in my view, they will continue to do well because China will continue to acquire base metals. It is still growing at 6.5% or something. And I think it will continue to grow into the foreseeable future.
No, Jayant, let's get one quick more comment regarding China and regarding this One Belt, One Road infrastructure build out. Obviously, with the better economic numbers, that has to provide more confidence to people that this is going to happen. Again, could and would be a huge boost to base metals and, well, infrastructure build out in general. What are your comments on this continued build out of the One Belt, One Road?
Everyone I talk with says that this project will continue to move forward. Pakistan is very excited about it. Countries that will get involved in this project continue to be very excited about it. So yes, in my view, this project will continue to move forward. I'm going to be in a couple of conferences in Hong Kong and China over the next few months, and I will have more information on this project after I have been to those conferences, Cory. So I hope to have a more detailed conversation with you after I have been there.
Oh, you can bet that's going to happen, Jayant. I will have you back on the show for an update there, and I will, again, try to get you on a bit more regularly, and we can keep up to date on companies as well as your recent travels and some more boots-on-the-ground information. So, Jayant, hey, thanks for taking time today with us.
Thanks for the opportunity, Cory.